Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastatyare Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gora Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Please, Prabhu, would you be able to share? Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Jai Mataji. Happy to see you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, and pranam.
Please accept mine. Would you like to read?
Sure, Mataji. Is it the same Radhanath Swami? Psychic bafflement was the state my mind was cast into on the evening of 31st January 2011. First time when I entered his room, Radhanath Swami's demeanor effused weariness. A rocking chair held him in a sitting posture. Still, he seemed half asleep. A book held in his hand deserved a better grip to avoid a fall. I was aware of the long day of seva, selfless service he had been through, but nonetheless felt my reason to disturb him good enough. After excusing myself, I proposed, "There is a professor from Europe who is waiting at the reception. She is touched by your autobiography and wants to see you. Can I bring her in?" "Anything specific for which she wants to see me?" Radhanath Swami drawled nonchalantly. "Nothing specific, but..." I was speechless. My rationals were frail vis-a-vis his detachment from honor and recognition. Radhanath Swami quickly offered a smile, not wanting to embarrass me. "Just for 5 minutes, please," I quickly added. I had already promised the professor an audience. All right. His desire to avoid me any disappointment shined in his eyes through the thick cloud of fatigue. Second time, when I entered Radhanath Swami's room, after 10 minutes, the guest accompanied me. The scene that was to encounter me was jaw-dropping. Radhanath Swami sat erect at his low desk, the same book held firmly in his hand. Hearing our knock on the open door, he leaped up in excitement, as his bright face carried a brilliant, contagious smile. The twinkle in his eyes... I'm sorry. Okay. The twinkle in his eyes joined that smile to extend a heartfelt welcome to his guest. "Was it the same Radhanath Swami I saw a few minutes ago?" They say a sincere intent touches the soul. The guest broke down upon receiving such hospitality from a revered author. As the two conversed, time flew. All the while, I strained to detect even a speck of weariness in Radhana Swami's demeanor, but it eluded my scrutiny. All his weariness had drowned beneath the tall waves of his desire to serve and please his guest, his desire to make her feel welcome and not a burden. Hare Krishna, written by Abhishek Tyagi.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Mataji.
much. Very, very much. I don't know, dear devotees, if you watched recent Guru Maharaj's lecture was given in India. He was coughing, and it just made me think that recently we're reading a story how he was like so sick, and no matter what, he went to give a lecture. And I'm just, was listening to him and wondering how sick is he right now. I don't know, but he's giving a lecture. So constantly he does sacrifices for our sake. Mataji Kiara, would you like to read?
Yes, Mataji, thank you. Okay. Choosing a spot for Radhanath Swami. Our little group made a curious sight for the local villagers. Though clad in traditional Vedic attire, dhoti and kurta, we had the red sports cap on. We security volunteers wore them to distinguish ourselves from the other pilgrims during this pilgrimage to Vrindavan. Rice paddies stretched out on all sides. We scurried, one behind the other, along the narrow bank that enclosed the swampy paddy fields, heading towards Malar Kund, way ahead of Radhanath Swami and the other 1,000-odd pilgrims. Before they arrived there, we had to search out a suitable location for Radhanath Swami to sit and discourse amidst Malar Kund's rural landscape. Upon arriving at Malar Kund, we found it picturesque. The ponds there radiated serenity. The trees swayed as if in spiritual ecstasy, and the oasis-like feel on the place was enhanced by the treeless fields in the vicinity. But we also found the soapy mud that carpeted the earth and the noon sun that scorched the air inescapable. After desperately meandering around and after much deliberation, we finalized a spot, a little hard ground shaded by trees for Radhanath Swami to sit and discourse. After a while, the pilgrims tolerated the sun and the swamp while he discoursed for hours to his audience, at least some of whom fitted in the comfort of the shade and the hard ground of the chosen spot. Mr. Abhay Paurekar. Don't know.
Yeah, I think
Sorry,
my
I
scroll.
don't understand.
Yeah.
Yes, it's that he refused to sit in the shadow, right? And he stayed in the sun. I correctly understand.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, sorry. After a while, the pilgrims headed by Radhanath Swami arrived. Walking up to Radhanath Swami, we directed him to our chosen spot. But after brief contemplation, Radhanath Swami walked away into the blazing sun and sat on the muddy ground to discourse. He sat facing our chosen spot. Naturally, some of his audience now had the opportunity, they had to occupy the spot that was chosen for him. Radhanath Swami tolerated the sun and the swamp while he discoursed for hours to his audience, at least some of whom fitted in the comfort of the shade and the hard ground of the chosen spot. Mr. Abhay Paurekar. Sorry. Thank you.
Krishna, thank you. Neetu?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I saw you were raising your hand earlier. Would you like to read?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you. Radhanath Swami's happiness and tolerance. 26 November 2009. It was 4:59 a.m. when Radhanath Swami, visibly tired, entered the Radha Gopinath temple hall for the morning prayers that would begin in a minute. He hurried towards the deity of his Guru Srila Prabhupada to pay his obeisance. The last few days had been particularly hectic for Radhanath Swami due to spiritual get-togethers that went till late in the night. I could see how much of an effort it was for him to come for the morning prayers. Today, I could not control myself and approached Radhanath Swami and bluttered, "Why do you push yourself so hard and come for the morning prayers every day?" He smiled and replied, "Because I feel really unhappy when I do not come." I burst out, "But I feel so unhappy to see you in the morning prayers, and I feel really happy when you do not come, knowing that you are taking your well-deserved rest. Please do not push yourself so hard." "Thank you so much for your genuine concern." He then laughed loudly, his shoulders heaving, and continued, "However, better that you become unhappy rather than me becoming unhappy." I retreated, completely defeated. Attending morning prayers is crucial for one who is serious about progressing in bhakti. But for one who has reached perfection, whose life itself is a prayer, of what value are these regulations? Yet Radhanath Swami derives happiness in stretching himself as far as possible to inspire his followers through his personal presence in the morning prayers. Krishnan Iyer.
All glories to Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna. I guess we can read the book now, Prabhu. Please, could kindly share. Sri as Prabhu realized that we um, missed a few pages in the other book because um, in that version that we're looking at, it had a few missing pages. So Sri as Prabhu took care of it and will share with us what we missed. Punam Sahal Mataji, would you like to read?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank
The
you for
real
joining
thing.
today.
Can you see a thought, touch it or taste it? None of the senses can witness a thought. It can be witnessed only by the mind. A thought is an expression of the mind. What is the nature of the mind? The mind is linked to the senses. The senses perceive an object and relay the gathered information to the mind. The mind responds to that object by saying, "I like it," or "I do not like it." "I want it," or "I do not want it." The mind is accepting or rejecting, hankering for its wants or lamenting for its losses. This is the function of the mind, simply to perceive things through the senses and to react. The intelligence is subtler than the mind. The function of the intelligence is to discriminate. If the mind sees a beautiful object through the senses, it thinks, "I want it." Then the intelligence starts figuring out ways to get that object. Subtler than the intelligence is the ego. It is the ego that identifies with this whole phenomenon of intelligence, mind, and the gross body and thinks that all of it is me. Beyond the ego is the soul. The soul is the real you. The soul is the person. The soul is the observer, the witness. The soul is the source of life. And when the soul identifies that I am eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss, I am a part of God, an instrument of God, then he is fully enlightened. Therefore, the nature of the pure soul is to use the body, the mind, the intelligence, and the ego in a spirit of compassion and love for the world as an instrument of God's love. That is the true function of the soul in this world. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Shreyas Prabhu, would you like to read, please? Haven't heard you in a while.
Yes, Mother. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
The quest for truth. Sometimes it is said that man is a rational animal. Now, if you take away the rationality, man is an animal. Now, what does it mean to be rational? Rational means to be able to discriminate what is truth. If we do not live for the truth, if we do not live on the basis of the truth, then our whole life is a waste. It is an illusion. There will be no fruit of happiness. There will be no real purpose to our life. Quote, man is a rational animal, unquote, means man has the power to discriminate what is the truth, what is knowledge, who am I, and what is the purpose of life. Someone may say that this kind of life is very impractical in today's society, which is a society of competition and of might is right. But let us examine within our hearts. What do we really want in life? There is nothing wrong with competition, but one must compete in pursuance of the truth, not on the principle of illusion and ignorance. So, whatever our field of activity is in this world, that is not bad, but we must act on the basis of truth. There is nothing more glorious than truth, but there is only one problem in this world, that is ignorance. Every other problem in this world is only due to the presence of ignorance, because the human society is in ignorance. Even in the name of faith, people are attached to so many traditions, so many rituals, but as far as the real goal of life, practically everyone is ignorant. Therefore, we have to ask ourselves, what happiness, what purpose, what goal have we accomplished? The greatest misfortune in all of creation is to get human life and to waste its precious moments by not pursuing the truth. If one is working, but if one's ambition is simply sense enjoyment, such a human being is not a rational animal. Whether you are an industrialist or a doctor or a lawyer or a housewife or a professor or an administrator or a manager, if your motivation is based on the truth, if it is based on love, mercy, and compassion towards all living beings, you will be most effective. Your purpose will bring about real satisfaction in your life, and you can contribute real satisfaction and real happiness to the world.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. This story reminded me of like one short video that I watched yesterday in this regard. How they showed so many different people like were staring at their phone, going on a train, and outside you could see how the whole world is on fire, and it just shows how we like being ignorant to what is really happening in the world and how we don't really rush to to share this knowledge with other people. We're just all busy. A majority of us, we're just busy with our own things. We're thinking that one day in the future maybe we'll do something important and serious, but for now we have something else going on in life. So I pray that we can have this sense of urgency and really by the mercy of our Guru Maharaj we can understand that now is the moment. Now is the only opportunity for us to become serious. Rajasema Prabhu, would you like to read, please?
Hare Krishna, Maji. Please accept my humble obeisance. Thank you, Mataji. Next. Mind games. The mind is the best friend of man, but potentially his worst enemy too. The mind that is controlled is one's best, most well-wishing friend. But the mind that is uncontrolled is one's worst enemy. In fact, there is no other enemy but our own mind. Living in this world, we have so much opposition coming our way. There may be people who are trying to even destroy us, be it individually or in business or the nation. This world is full of so many friends and enemies. We make friends with those persons whom either we can exploit very nicely or who agree with us in our principle of how to enjoy in this world. And someone who is opposed to our conception of enjoyment in this world becomes our enemy. This is the way of world. How to get the most sense enjoyment, how to get the most benefits from those who are our friends, and how to defeat and defend against our enemies. But these are all just different mental conceptions. These are all the results of the uncontrolled mind. The mind is very difficult to control because by nature it is very envious. Because of ignorance, envy takes its seat within our mind and we suffer. So, this is the greatest need in human society, a change of mind, a purification of consciousness. Let us not be a part of the problem, but let us be a part of the solution to the problem. This is real self-management, learning to control our mind, learn to make friends with our mind by following spiritual discipline in our life and keeping holy association. And then we can enjoy the treasure of peace and real happiness, and we can distribute the contents of that treasure to our loved ones and to the world. That is the goal of life. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for reading, Prabhu. The devotees, if you have any comments in the meantime, we'll be very happy to hear you. Okay, Shri Govinda Prabhu, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna.
Dependent and independent truth. Dependent or relative truth means that truth which is interdependent on a previous truth to exist. Why do we call our family members relatives? Because we are relative to one another. My father is relative to me, my existence is relative to his existence, and his existence is related to his father's existence. We are all relative to one another. That means we are interdependent on one another for each other's existence. That is the dependent or relative truth. Now, the source of all relative truths cannot be a relative truth. It has to be the absolute truth or independent truth. Ultimately, either everything comes from nothing or everything comes from the absolute truth. Everything cannot come from another relative truth. And if we accept that everything comes from the absolute truth or independent truth, which is moral, logical, and scientifically consistent with our perception that everything does not come from nothing, then we have to study that absolute truth. Bhagavad Gita is the scientific study of that absolute truth. When we come to the level of the absolute truth, then there is no beginning and no end. This is because it is the source of all relativity and it is transcendental beyond relativity. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Charu Bali, are you available to read? Mayatana Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Mother. Thank you very much.
Would you like to read?
Pure love from a perfect God. Whatever God does is perfect and complete. What is most perfect? Pure, unmotivated, and uninterrupted love. Nothing can be more perfect than that. The absolute truths being perfect and complete means that whatever is emanating from Him is based on the principle of the purest, highest, most unmotivated, and uninterrupted love. Even the work of the God is based on pure, unalloyed love, because whatever God does is for the welfare of all living beings. Just like the sun showers its beneficial rays upon everyone without discrimination, God's love is available to one and all without discrimination. Whether one is terrible, decor, or a great saintly person, God love is equal to everyone. There is only one difference. The Lord is reciprocates with the saintly person in all sweetness, because the saintly person approaches the Lord with love. The Lord expresses his love for the decor by smashing him for having gone against his law. Ultimately, God wants all living entities to come back to him, the path of bhakti. Loving devotional service is a direct express highway back home, back to the kingdom of God. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for reading. Is there anybody else who hasn't read yet? I can read one. Loving God. When we see people suffering terribly, it is very bewildering. Why is God doing this to people? Superficially, it seems very cruel and unfair. However, the reality is altogether different. Every action must have an equal and opposite reaction. That is the law of karma. Sufferings and miseries are the manifestation of our indulgence in sinful activities from the past. We may or may not remember those activities. The stringent law of karma, designed and orchestrated by God, is His unmotivated, uninterrupted love for the soul going through it. Physically, it may be cruel, but for the soul it is like the love of a parent for the child's own benefit. A child who is told that his parents are punishing him because they love him cannot accept or understand it, but an adult can very well understand. When we grow spiritually, we see that there is nothing but God's love pervading everywhere, everything and everywhere. The perfection of love is not to be free from physical or mental suffering, because the body and the mind are going to suffer today or tomorrow no matter what we do. The perfection of life is the ability to perceive and appreciate God's love in every single aspect of this creation. The perfection of life is to be grateful for God's love no matter what way, shape, or form it comes, knowing that according to what we have done, this is God's way of bringing us closer to Him. This is not some blind faith, nor is it just a superimposition of some nice philosophy to cope with the problems of life. This is the supreme truth, truth that has been revealed by all the great incarnations, scriptures, and saints. Hare Krishna. Lakshmi Jai Mataji, continue please.
Good, Mataji, thank you. Deity and omnipresent God. Many times people ask, if God is omnipresent, why worship a deity? If God is omnipresent, is he not present in the deity as well? If we are honest and realistic, we can very easily understand that to fix our mind on God, who is present everywhere and in everything, is indeed difficult. Therefore, the Lord, out of his mercy and kindness, reveals himself to us through wonderful medium by which we can completely absorb our consciousness in him. One such medium is his name. The name is the deity of God in sound that we can carry with us everywhere. Sorry. I think okay.
Maybe to the pod.
I think Mataji, something happened with her connection. Would you like to complete, please, Shreyas Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. One such medium is his name. The name is the deity of God in sound that we can carry with us everywhere. The deity in the temple is another manifestation that God has so kindly given us, completely focus our mind and senses in serving Him. In His deity form, we can bathe God, we can feed God, we can meditate on His beauty, we can completely absorb our attention in Him. Deity worship is a most wonderful, sublime form of meditation that awakens our natural serving potency and our love for God. God has given the deity as a wonderful facility. Um, God has given the deity as a wonderful facility and opportunity for us to fix our mind on Him and to love Him and serve Him.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shreyas Prabhu. Vardhana Mataji, thank you for joining. Would you like to read?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Temple of the Heart. Chanting the name of God is most sublime process. If it is possible, set up a little temple in your home. If it is not, still the name of God can be worshipped in the temple of your heart. Can I continue, Mataji?
Yes, please, yes.
Yeah. Gifts of God. Our work is pure when we realize that we are not the deers but are simple instruments in the hands of God to do His will. As long as we think, I am the doer of God's work, we become proud and contaminated. God is a doer. If God didn't give me the air, could I breathe? If the God didn't give me the sun, could I see? If God did not give the rains, could I drink water or eat food? If God didn't give the earth, could I survive? Everything that we are made of is a gift of God. Neither our forefathers nor the scientists have created the things that we are surviving on. The sunlight, the air, the rain, the earth, and the food grains, and our everybody, on everybody. Our mother and father did not produce this body. They were just instruments. It is not that our father invented the seed of life by his own intelligence. God invented the seed of life, but put it within the father, who is just the instrument of God to put the seed in the mother. God made the womb. The mother didn't make her womb. The mother womb is an instrument of God to let that seed which He planted grow. God has given us birth. God has made every hair on our head and every pore on our body. He was created it all and given us everything we require to sustain our lives.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
All
Krishna.
glories.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All glories to Krishna for doing everything for us. Kiara Mataji, would you like to read?
Yes, Mataji. Moonlight God. When the big dark cloud of ignorance enters in our lives and covers the full moon of God's presence in our hearts, it leaves not just our own life, but also the whole world in darkness. What is within reflects in everything without. A person's consciousness within is manifested everywhere through his or her eyes, ears, and all of the senses. If we see the beauty of God within our own lives, we see the beauty of God everywhere through our senses. But if there is darkness in our hearts, if we are forgetful of God, then we will see only darkness everywhere. This is a beautiful lesson to be learned. When our hearts are free of the clouds of ignorance, everything appears to us like a clearly visible autumn night. Let the moonlight God come into our hearts to dispel all darkness and fear. Let our hearts be like the clear skies, free from the clouds of ignorance. When we perceive all living beings to be like the brilliant shining stars, and God to be like the full moon, then there is actual beauty and love in our lives.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Punam Saha Mataji, would you like to continue, please?
Okay, Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavad.
Just a moment, please. She is taking care of the book for us.
Two things to forget, two to remember. Two things to forget forever are: A, anything bad anyone has done unto us. To the extent that we are willing to forgive and forget, God will forgive us. Forgiveness is a great virtue. B, anything good that we have done unto others. If we remember our good deeds, we become proud, and that pride ruins everything. We should think that we are only delivery persons, delivering the goods. God wants us to simply be a delivery person. Ultimately, God does it all. Two things to always remember are: A, death. Death can come at any moment, whether one is an insignificant ant crawling on the floor or the future head of state of the biggest democracy of the world. B, God's holy name. Since death can come at any moment, the other thing that we should remember is the Lord's holy name, because his mercy is fully revealed through his name eternally. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Mataji, you just read about forgiveness, and it reminded me. Recently, I've learned that if we in a house have some kind of insects or like a lot of ants, it means that we have many things, little things that we didn't forgive somebody for, or like many different people. Have you ever heard about it before? It's like part of Vastu, it explains all the different things, including insects. Like I was always wondering and always like thought about how to, take care of or how to remove this. I mean, not that I'm going through it right now, thank God, but at some point in my life, there were certain houses where I lived some insects, like you would leave a little bit of sugar on the countertop and so many ants just crawl and you cannot even cook and think how are you going to get rid of them because you cannot like kill them, but what do? So everything is about our internal process and our development, like even house shows us of the things that we need to improve on. I found it interesting. Vraja Seva Prabhu, could you kindly continue, please?
Hare Krishna Maji. Yes, thank you, Mataji. Hope in pain. Whatever God does is ultimately a miracle for our pleasure. Even the punishments are ultimately for our pleasure, even though they may cause pain in our bodies. Biologically, what is pain? Different nerve endings go through certain transformations that create signals which come out as pain. It is an unbelievable creation. Even pain is God's miracle. Technologically, it is so complex that even the greatest machine cannot create such a thing as pain. Pain is specifically designed and minutely created by God for our pleasure. Ultimately, everything is for the pleasure of the soul, to bring us souls back to God's original abode. Everything that takes place in our life is God's revealing his miraculous, incredible mercy upon us. The entire existence is simply a reciprocation of love between God and his children. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, thank you. It is so hard to comprehend that pain is meant for our pleasure. I don't know. I mean, of course, I don't want to doubt any words that Guru Maharaj says, but in my mind right now, it's so hard to comprehend. But I guess we should try. Lokeshwara Govinda Prabhu, to kindly continue, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji. True culture. Culture is the humility, the morality, and the wisdom of the heart, expressed through lifestyle and arts. Culture is not just how you dress or what music you listen to. One of Hitler's number two man was one of the mastermind demons responsible for ordering and murdering 10 and millions of innocent people. That was his work. Nevertheless, in his private life, he was considered to be such a cultured gentleman. He wore the finest clothes, he had all the mannerisms of politeness, the etiquette of speaking in nice, respectful ways to others, and he knew how to eat according to the very aristocratic manner. He was a patron of the fine arts. He loved classical music, and he gave so much in charity to promote classical music and poetry and theater. From every way of looking at what we consider culture, he was a very cultured gentleman. He spoke sweetly and he did all the things that the high echelons culture, society respect and adores. However, in his heart, he was such a ruthless murderer that he tortured and slaughtered millions of innocent children, women, and helpless men, even if they were old. So, true culture is not just about your lifestyle or art, but is essentially about your lifestyle and art actually embodying the principles of humility, morality, and wisdom of the heart. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I didn't know that much about Hitler before. Me too. Mat- Mataji Nitu, are you available?
Yes, Mataji. With every rising and setting of the sun, the most valuable thing we have in life is every precious moment that God has given us. Time is priceless. Money, estate, or even reputation, if lost, can be gained back by hard work. But one moment that is wasted cannot be brought back for all the wealth in the entire creation. Time and tide wait for no man. As little kids in school, it seemed like centuries even when we were just waiting for the weekend. But as we grow old, days pass like minutes. Soon we are at the threshold of departing from this particular body. We look back and think, where has my life gone? It seems like it has only been a moment. Therefore, we must understand the value of every precious moment. How we invest each moment of a life is the most important consideration of a human intelligence. We should utilize every moment to the greatest benefit of ourselves as well as of others. The scriptures explain that with every rising and setting of the sun, we are one day closer to death. But for those who utilize their precious time to understand the true purpose of life and to hear and chant the glories of the Supreme Lord, every rising and setting of the sun brings them one day closer to the eternal light.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. Umesh Chandra, Prabhu? Anybody else wishes to read the devotees?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
In last
Krishna.
couple internet for a couple of minutes and I was unable to complete that. Um, I was reading. Can I read now?
Yes, of course. Please.
Thank you, Mataji. The power of inquiry. One great saintly personality remarked that everyone spends their lives within a series of questions and answers. When a bird rises in the morning, it begins asking questions and searching for answers. When it comes back to the nest at night, it is still asking questions and trying to find answers. In human society, the businessmen, politicians, lawyers, artists, farmers, etc., all are seeking answers to their questions. Life is a series of questions and answers. How to solve our problems, how to find happiness, how to avoid suffering, how to make friends, how to gain power and prestige. Of course, in today's age, the series of questions and answers is mostly about how to make money. All the television shows, cinemas, newspapers, magazines are about these questions and answers. The Vedic scriptures explain that now that you are a human being, inquire about who you are. The questions about eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and all of the various subdivisions exhibit the basic trend of human intelligence in today's world. But these are unimportant questions. Who am I? Why am I suffering? Where am I coming from? Where am I going? Who is God? What is the nature of this universe? What is my relationship with God within this universe? When human being becomes to the when a human being comes to the elevated platform of making serious inquiry on these subjects, the human life has real spiritual value. If we really want to digest food, we have to have hunger. If we have no hunger, we have very weak digestion. Hunger is a very important part of life because it gives power to digest, and that principle holds true for spiritual knowledge as well. When we feel the urgency and the hunger to solve the real problems of life, and we inquire from people who act truly and who reveal the word of God in an unadulterated way, then our human life really begins. The scriptures tell us that there is a final exam. That final exam is called death. It's not a horrible thing unless we fail it. Death is neither good nor bad. If we fail the exam of death, it is a miserable situation. But if we pass that exam, it is the most glorious opportunity in all of creation. We can pass this examination by using our life to seek answers to the questions of the purpose of life and then following those answers, which will lead us to the right path and destination of our life. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
I'm talking with my mic off. Thank you for reading, Mataji. The devotees, I was wondering if you also had these questions before you found out about Krishna consciousness. Like, did you actually were searching for God? Were you maybe in a different tradition, or did you think of who you are? Because I didn't have such questions, so I'm just wondering, how other devotees came to this path, because everybody has different stories. So were you already spiritual? What were your stories? Anybody wishes to share?
In school, especially in India, we have in the altar, everybody has altar, and there are many photos or idols actually. So I had a question that who is the greatest one who I should affiliate with, and it's to meet people, and somebody is worshipping someone specifically like Ganesh or Hanuman or Lord Shiva. So I was wondering who I should affiliate with. Then I read somewhere that Bhagavad Gita has all the answers. So I thought maybe I should read the Bhagavad Gita. Somebody said that, oh, you can find all the answers in Bhagavad Gita. And of course, it's well known, so I was wondering that I should read. Then one devotee took me to a Sunday feast program. and I was hoping to get a Bhagavad Gita there, but they gave me the small books. They didn't give me the Bhagavad Gita because I was in school. So then I didn't read any of them. But then later, somebody else had donated a Bhagavad Gita, and that was at home, so I read that, and everything at least a lot of questions were answered. One of the verses in Bhagavad Gita that completely completely took everything was the verse where Krishna says that when anybody gets any benediction from any demigod, it's actually given by me. When I read that verse, I had to close the book and put it down because completely shocked. But then I read it again and completely it later. Okay.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing, Prabhu. Lakshmi Jai Mataji.
Yes,
Yes.
Madhaji. I went through, as a child, I grew up in a family who were worshipping Krishna as God. So I didn't have the question of who is God at that time because my grandmother, both the grandmothers, they were worshipping Krishna. And my mother's side, my mom's mom, she used to do the chanting also. So I had no question about who is God. But I was like, why am I suffering? Because at one point of life, it was like my life has become so miserable, especially raising a special needs child and to a lot of stress in life and all that. And I was like, why is my life like this? And that question was bothering me. And one day I got, my friend and I went to a temple and I wanted to get Bhagavad Gita. And I started reading the Bhagavad Gita and I started realizing, and I wanted to go deep into this. And then Krishna miraculously, he made arrangements. We went to, after some time, we went to ISKCON New Vrindavan. Actually, we went to New Vrindavan before that 10 years ago. And after 10 years, I went back again to New Vrindavan temple. And there I got Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita book. And that changed my life totally. From there, I got connected with devotees and got into ISKCON. And now, even though I have all those stressors in life, I'm peaceful now. Just wanted to say it.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Mataji. So happy to get to know more about you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Dear devotees, anybody else wishes to share if you had any of these questions before you found out about Krishna consciousness, or maybe you were born already in a Krishna conscious family, maybe you were so fortunate.
Hare Krishna Maji, please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna Maji, yeah. Yes, Maji, even though I was just born and brought up in a so-called pious family, so we had a good culture from the childhood days, but some or other, we were just, I was not at all inquisitive about all these questions, Mataji. If you can see, like what are Maharajas very clearly explained here, all these questions actually. So I didn't just think of all those things. I just went just as a formality, or just we need to go to temple and worship and come back like that. But by Krishna's mercy itself actually. So I was after my completion, I went for graduation. At that time I was around 500 kilometers from my hometown. So I was thinking why I was so much far from my hometown. I should stay somewhere near to my home. I was thinking in such a way. But Krishna has some other plan. So when I went there, then one of my classmates, so he was having so much mental depressions and everything. So he approached one of our very kind professor, so who was a devotee. So he started slowly counseling him. Then gradually one day he also invited me to attend his small satsang with two of us and our professor giving the small class on Bhagavad Gita. So when he explained, even though I have went through Bhagavad Gita, just we have recited some slokas of Bhagavad Gita during our school days, but I couldn't understand the meaning of Bhagavad Gita, just simply like a parrot, just repeating all these verses. But he very, that mercy of the devotee, especially, like he very mercifully presented the wonderful philosophy of Krishna consciousness and with a wonderful prasadam, of course. So all these things, then when I came, then we could know that actually there is some purpose of my life. And then he took us to the nearest center, which was around 200-250 kilometers there. So we had the association of devotees. We went, saw the ISKCON and darshan of Srila Prabhupada, Gaur Nitai. Then by their mercy, by their blessings, and by their association, some other, I'm just striving to be in this movement. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for sharing your story, and it's so wonderful to hear that all of you mentioned Bhagavad Gita. It just shows how much impact it has. That it's not. These are the words of Krishna, so it is not an ordinary book. It has so much power, and of course, when we study it in the guidance, with explanation of realized soul, then of course so many more answers revealed to us, and we get the strength to act in this manner as Krishna advises us to do. Even though I would love to hear the stories of all of you, it is already time for us to conclude today. And I just wish to mention again that soon it is Janmashtami, the most wonderful day of the year. I'm so looking forward for it as well, and if Krishna will allow, have an opportunity, I'm planning to go to Alachua, Florida, to the temple. We're leaving this Saturday to help a little bit with services to prepare for that day, and then when I come back to Savannah, we're planning to organize another Janmashtami here and Srila Prabhupada's appearance day celebration. So celebrating it everywhere, and I'm seeking for your blessings for me to be able to serve devotees and of course please Krishna as much as possible. Thank you so much, dear devotees, again for being here today. So happy to see all of you. So happy to get to know more about you. Thank you again, Shreyas Prabhu, for all your wonderful service, for finding this book for us, for finding what we've missed, for scanning or whatever you did in order for us to see it all. Thank you again.
You found the book, Mataji, and actually I only sent you the wrong link with the missing pages. So
But you were very attentive, and thanks to you, we didn't miss anything. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai! Hare Krishna. See you
Hare
next
Krishna.
year,
Thank you.
devotees.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji. Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna
Srila
Mataji.
Gurudev ki
Thank
jai,
you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.